Well, let's move on then to the next subject, which is coming here to retire. And Spain is a fantastically popular place for people to come to retire. It has a beautiful climate, it's got good facilities, particularly down here on the Costa del Sol, great hospitals, great roads, wonderful food. So we can understand why people want to come to live here. And the Spanish have made coming to Spain to retire pretty straightforward.
Yes, this is really, there are no requirements actually to retire. It's just arranging the residence card at the police station. Of course, the communication to the tax authorities. I'm not a tax resident anymore at my country, but in Spain, and that's it. So very simple and straightforward.
And you have to show that you have sufficient money to support yourself?
You mean if you are coming from EU member?
No, if you're coming from a non-EU.
No, non-EU. Sorry, I thought we were talking about.
Oh, let's stick with the EU first of all then. So yeah. EU resident, it's very simple. They just come, they register with the police station. That's it.
That's it. That is what I meant before. And for the non-EU countries, you have to say, okay, I want to retire. I want to live in Spain.
Yes. So and just to interrupt you there, because you don't need to be 60 or 65. No. When we say retire, you mean without economic activity. So I could be 40 and Absolutely. I could be rich and I could decide to come and retire into Spain.
Absolutely, absolutely, which is really happening very often as well. So base your application with you have sufficient funds, sufficient resources to support yourself and your family in Spain, which is considered sufficient. 25,000 if there is a single application, and if you are having a family application, is 35,000 euros per year.
Yes.
Okay. As well as this, you need to say where you're gonna stay in Spain. Rental contract is good enough, but it will help very much if you have a property owned by.
And most people own their own house.
Most people do.
Yes.
Clean criminal record, like always, health insurance in Spain, and also the health test at your country. It's got to be translated, notarized, and with this, it's good enough to prove that you can be resident in Spain. And you can be resident, but you have to be resident. So at the end of the day, this is the non-lucrative residency,
yes.
Which means that you have to show that you are really living in Spain longer than 183 days a year in order to extend the every 3 years or eventually after 5 years as well.
Yes.
In respect, the same type of residency could be achieved as well by the golden visa.
Yes.
Because you can retire in Spain, you can buy a property of 500,000 euros. This is good enough, like we said before, to qualify. So you apply the residency for investors, and you are free to stay in Spain longer or shorter than 183 days. In this type of residency is important. You don't have to stay longer than 183 days a year in order to extend it. You will extend it as long as you keep the investment in Spain.
Yes.
So the people that want to retire and live in Spain, they're using both ways.
Yes. Depending on their circumstances.
Depending on the circumstances, but we can see with the pass of the time that there are more and more going to the named golden visa, residency for investors. Some of the clients that they don't have a plan for investment, or they don't want, or they cannot do the investment of 500,000 euros in properties. They buy an apartment, let's say 200,000 euros apartment. They have that type of money coming in every year to support their family, and they don't want to go to a bigger investment, and they can have the non-lucrative visa. The only difference in between both of them is to extend it. You need to show that you are 183 days a year.
If you go for the retirement visa, the non-lucrative visa.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
But whereas if you've got the golden visa, you could live here for 183 days in the first year, and then you could go back to China, and you could just come here once every 2 years for 2 weeks, and that would be enough.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Two other things I wanted to mention briefly. One is you talked about health checks in your own country. This has been a requirement for many, many years. It's really designed to show that you haven't got things like tuberculosis and other communicable disease, isn't it? They're not concerned if you have a heart condition or diabetes. That's not the problem.
That's not the problem. That's not the problem. Of course it's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
this is a sector of the market that has grown enormously over the years. Do you think it's going to continue to grow? Do you think Spain will become the retirement centre for Europe in the same way that, say, Florida has become the retirement centre for the United States?
I think so.
Yes.
I think so. I can see that what depends on the evolution about obtaining the visa, obtaining the residency, and everything that it depends on Spain in respect of the creation of legislation for investors is really having a very positive evolution to give more and more facilities. The government has created this system with a vocation for a very, very long term. I think Spain is a very wanted country to retire for
Yes.
many Europeans and other international countries because of the weather, because of many other factors, and it will be as well keeping like this for the future. Yeah.
And it changes people's life coming down here. They just become different people.